Yes, we're still searching for the perfect sandwich. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're viewing from. This is Laura Thompson with TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with a global reach. And tonight, you're tuned into the recap. We're going to be discussing the Harris-Trump debate and giving some insight on, what our views are on it. So thank you for tuning in. And tonight we have a couple of very, very special guests, and we're going to let them introduce themselves. And I'll call your name, Gordan Benjamin. Can you give us a little bit of information about who you are and what you do, why you're here, all that good stuff?
Ah, well, good evening, everybody, and everybody listening around the globe. My name is Gordan Benjamin. I am a 1966 graduate of Brackenridge High School. I matriculated 2 years at St. Philip's College and a graduate of Prairie View A&M University. Um, Prior to being initiated into Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in 1970, I made the dean's list the previous spring semester, and that paved the way for me to get into the door, along with all the dues and recriminations and any other thing I can't mention on there, in order to become a member of this illustrious organization. My previous experience has been in working with young people in diversion programs for either substance abusers, domestic violence offenders, and my interest in politics came about as a result of losing the election at Prairie View during the spring of 1970 by one vote to someone who had Greek affiliation and I had none. But that's just the way races go. So that made me feel like, every vote counts. And without that extra help that my opponent had, he might not have been able to hold that office. But at the same time, from a distance, I try to view politics, as far as neutrality is concerned. But my main focus is getting people to understand how important it is to vote, to register, and then to show up at the poll and vote. My focus has always been on telling them that the past is prologue to the future. And there's been some successes in spite of all the things that some governments and the state legislatures try to do to prohibit us from participating and continue to disfranchise us as they did in the early 1700s and 10 years after the end of slavery. But as Wendell Pierce, a noted actor, said, there's blood on the ballot box. And a lot of people gave their lives, sacrificed, and moved forward to try and encourage people, to not be discouraged and register and go vote. Your vote is your voice. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And so our next esteemed guest, he really needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. He's comedian Shuckey Duckey. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, why you do it, and why you're here.
Well, I'm here because I wanted to talk about this the debate that they had this week, and I've been doing comedy for the past 30 something years. I'm retired a little bit. I'm just sitting back and relaxing and enjoying myself, and I try to teach comedy classes to some of the young up and coming comedians and let them know what the ins and outs of the business is. But I'm also into politics, and find out what's going on in our society. And voting is very, very much necessary, And I'm a type of person I kind of like downvote. Most to me, voting is local. It's the people that you can really connect with, like your mayor, your council people, your senators, your representatives. Those people you're more closer to than the president of the United States. So therefore, I feel like all voting is more local. All politics is local. So people need to get out to vote, know what the issues are, stand on those issues, and get involved in their communities and be able to make a difference in their community. So I'm here to talk about the debate, and I'm with y'all. So let me know what you got to talk about because I'm ready to talk about it.
All right. Well, I got a few questions. I'm directing this question to Mr. Gordan Benjamin. Mr. Gordan Benjamin, what stood out in the debate to you?
Um, I think the contrast of seemingly you have an up and then you have a down. And generally in debates, somebody gets the momentum and it can swing back and forth. But I believe that the vice president was better prepared as far as her strategy was concerned and putting information out as to what her plans were. And the former president's responses, were they lacked clarity and they weren't specific. And for one question, it was about the health plans, right? He's been promising for over 6, 7 years that he was going to replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, and they've gone to court. They've had votes in the House of Representatives 60 sometimes, and they were never successful in replacing the Affordable Care Act. And when she asked, what was his plan, his part of his response indicated that he had a concept of plans. And of course, the media took that and ran with it. And I just look at the contrast between how prepared she was and how off track, he happened to go most of the time that he was, on the microphone. Because the first question was about the economy. And before he can get past the why in the economy, he was already talking about immigration and so many different types of people coming into the country. And I think that those people who observe things, in order, starting with the beginning, could see that he was losing his composure by the time they got to the third or fourth question. That's what stands out to me.
So, Mr. Shuckey Duckey, what stood out to you in the debate?
Well, what really stood out when the moderator asked Vice President Kamala, is the economy better off now than now? And she couldn't answer that question. She went and started talking about she was a middle class and started talking about the middle class, but she never really answered the question about what the economy is. And then she never stood behind the border, about the border situation. She never answered any stuff about that. So she really didn't answer a lot of questions either. So they were both going back and forth and dodging questions. That's what it stood out for me.
Wow. So in your opinion, Mr. Gordan, who won the debate and why? Why do you think so?
Well, I think I would have to say that the vice president was more successful than the former president. And it's in looking at the situations, about the things and the number of people who previously worked for him that no longer want to support him was part of what, carried the weight for me. In that some of these people were in the White House with him. They know him and they know his proclivities, and his inclinations. And that is something that I think sometimes some of the people who may be supporting him don't see that as a glaring red flag. But I think she was successful enough, in my opinion, to carry the day.
Well, so what do you think, Mr. Shuckey Duckey?
Well, I think she did. I think she did good. I think she didn't hurt herself, and I don't think he didn't do anything to raise the needle as well. She she pretty much held her own, but it's still, it really wasn't a debate. It's almost like it was 3-on-1, tell you the truth about it, because they didn't really fact check nobody but Trump. And I'm not taking up for Trump, but I'm just saying about what's happening in that debate. He, she didn't do anything to hurt herself, and he didn't do anything to help himself. Because what I'm saying is, people gonna vote for who they're gonna vote for, and so it's almost like even Steven, but she did come out a little bit more on top than he did.
Okay, so what were the strengths and the weaknesses for both candidates? Kamala first, Mr. Gordan.
I think part of what her strategy had been advertised, that people had been advising her that if she could bait him, he was due to go off track. And she baited him, successfully, and he went off track on a lot of different things. And in the past, there have been situations that previously in the first debate that he had with President Joe Biden, uh, news media reported that he told 31 lies and there was no fact checking going on. But at this point, the fact that he advertised or bragged that there were migrants in Springfield, Ohio, that were eating pets, dogs and cats. And the moderator, David Muir of ABC, said that they had talked to the mayor of that city and there had been no reports for that. But he never had a foundation to support, his claim that this is what was happening in migrant communities. And that's part of the negativity of his going off the rails. But I think the strength that she had was to point out about abortion, the suffering that a woman may go through because the providers, can't do anything about her bleeding out because they're afraid of being prosecuted, and women make up 50% of the population in this country. And if you're going to treat women as second-class citizens or deny them access to medical care that could be life-threatening, and it's not like abortion is, a long vacation or something that, they just do on him. So that's one of the strengths that I think she had to point out what a woman would be experiencing. The lack of access to medical care is what to her was what she described as disgusting. But I think though, and as far as her weakness, she didn't go into a lot of specifics, and that may have caused her to say maybe we'll have a second debate. But there's been a lot of fingers pointed that she didn't have some specifics about her plans. But with the former president, he lived up to his reputation because visibly he never answered a question. And prior to Tuesday night's debate, they asked him about childcare, and he had a 86-word response that only mentioned childcare twice, but never said anything that had some clarity to it. And he only glossed over the words childcare twice, but then everything else that he threw in there, it was described as word salad. And he pretty much maintained that posture during the debate because I didn't hear a lot about what he would do and how he would do it and what he could accomplish.
An audience question. So I know you mentioned earlier that about people that used to work for Trump. He wants to know, have you heard from any of those who used to work for Kamala?
I haven't heard much of, any of the people who previously worked for her or with her have anything negative to say about her. And I can't say that that's being suppressed or nobody has the courage to come out and tell us something negative about her. And I don't know that there are people who choose to oppose her running, because this is not 1912. I think this is 2024. And women have the opportunity to have an impact on what happens in this country. And one of the things that I noticed in media, the Washington Post advertised that there have been 40 different groups, culturally diverse groups, that came out in support of the vice president when she ascended to the top of the ticket after President Biden withdrew from the consideration for the nomination to become president. So you've got Black women, Black men, white women, white dudes, Latino men, and you have got evangelicals, you got the youth vote, independent women, suburban women, moderate Republicans, Republicans for Kamala Harris. And that number, 40 different culturally diverse groups, reminds me of what happened with the Arab Spring back in 2013, when from all around the world, Arabs got on social media and lit it up to say that we need a change back home. And that caused the government, to kind of be shaken a little bit. But I've been thinking since then, I said, well, if you can create an Arab Spring through social media platforms, why hasn't somebody devised a method by which they can communicate directly with the people and get more people involved? And I see it happening now with the different culturally diverse groups. that are in support of Vice President Harris as a nominee.
So, Mr. Shuckey Duckey, so
Mhm.
what were the strengths and weaknesses that you saw with Trump?
Well, the weakness is he couldn't approach a Vice President Kamala like he does those other candidates like Biden, and back in the day in 2016, like he was going after the Bushes and all those people. He couldn't approach her like that because one, she's a black woman, regardless of she's holding her office. She's a black woman, so he can't downgrade her. And he made a mistake when he did came hard at her. He made a mistake on that part of it, talking down to her, because I don't care what position she holds. She's still the Vice President of the United States, and she should have been recognized as Madam Vice President, and he should have recognized that part. And then we start talking about the dogs, the Haitians and people was eating dogs. Now it was in the news, but it wasn't reported like it was reported in Agora that some of the guys was holding the building hostage, like Nino Brown, and selling dope and doing that nature. Those kind of immigrants, the immigrants was doing that. That was reported on ABC. I heard about that report. But for us eating dogs, I ain't never heard that before. Because I told them, I say, shoot, I got a whole bunch of cats and dogs around here. They need to bring them over here and get rid of them. Get rid of some of those dogs. But that kind of messed them up because that threw a lot of people off because they had never heard of that before. And then she baited him when he started talking about the rallies. And he's talking about my rallies is always big. I got big rallies. Everybody coming. We ain't hear about the rallies. We don't want to hear about the rallies. We want to hear about the issues. We want to know about how we're gonna make the economy better. We want to know about. I wasn't too much into the abortion type of thing. I'm not into that, but more I'm concerned about the economy. How we're going to make the economy better. And he didn't talk about that. And so he started going off when he started talking about his rallies and all that kind of stuff. So she baited him and took him in, but it really wasn't like I said, she came out a little bit better than he did because he couldn't do that real outrageous stuff that he usually do with a lot of people because you can't come at Miss Harris like that because you got to understand she's a former prosecutor. She's a former prosecutor, so she, like I said, to me, the debate is very, very even, I think, but I think she came out a little bit on top.
Well, thank you. So we're going to take a quick break. You're tuned into TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with the global reach. And we are here doing a replay of the Trump-Harris debate with Gordan Benjamin and comedian Shuckey Duckey. So we'll be right back.
These my peepers right here. Some of them gonna be with me when I'm looking for the perfect sandwich. What bruh man gonna be doing?
Looking for the perfect sandwich.
Looking for the perfect sandwich.
Tommy Davidson, Leap the Shooter. We looking for the perfect sandwiches.
That would look good.
Yo, what's up? This bruh man from the fifth floor. And look at here. I'm searching for the perfect sandwich. So I want y'all to register at www.theafricanamericannetwork.com to join my sandwich community. It's gonna be all that. And look at here. Want y'all to invite me to your city if you think you got the perfect sandwich. And I ain't talking about no served sandwiches either. Peace.
Unmute yourself.
Is I muted?
Yes, we're back, and we're doing a recap with Gordan Benjamin and Shuckey Duckey. We're talking about the first debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. And so this is a great conversation, and we're getting a lot of good information out of the recap. But Mr. Benjamin, we're gonna continue to go and dissect the debate. But I wanted you to take a moment to give some information on voter registration, when the deadline is, when people should register to vote, and why it's important.
The last day to register for the upcoming November 5th election is October the 7th. Early voting begins October 21st and it goes to November the 1st. Eligible voters have to be at least 17 years and 10 months and be registered as long as they turn 18 before election day. And that's a group that sometimes is missing, or they haven't gotten on the bandwagon as far as participating. But from looking at the past 2022 midterm elections, that age group, 18 to 30 is where there was a lot of progress made. Now, November the 5th is election day, and the last day to request a mail-in ballot is going to be October the 25th. And I think some of the rules and regulations that they've done with mail-in ballots is an attempt by state legislatures, especially here in Texas, to try and influence the senior citizens ballot. Going back to 2013, when the Supreme Court eviscerated Section 5 of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, there's been a lot of efforts and a lot of state legislatures that come up with voter ID laws and other different, end around actions, intended to dilute the power of the vote from women, senior citizens, African Americans, Latinos, and students. So therefore, and I agree with Shuckey Duckey, sir, that on the local level, we have to make people more aware of how the processes work, who's on the ballot, what offices are being contested, and who's running. And we use, in one of the groups I work with, the Power of One, we use the League of Women Voters Information instruments to make sure people are aware of where candidates stand on certain elections. Because as you said earlier, sir, on the local level, city council persons, the mayor, on up through state representatives and senators. And those are very significant races that impact how things are going to work in the local communities. Does that get it?
Yeah, so Shucky Ducky, why is it important for people to get out and vote?
Because your vote does count. This is going to be a really tough election. And the black vote is really very, very much as important. So we sitting back on the fence. We complain about a lot of things that's not happening, and some of us don't get out there and vote. So this is the most important election because it could be about landslide, or it could be about one vote, and so your vote definitely does count.
So we're gonna get back to examining and dissecting this debate a little bit more. So were there any key points made in the debate that made your eyebrows raise, or either by either candidate? Please, if so, please expound.
I didn't understand that the debate, the abortion type of thing. Now they was sitting there talking about abortion. I know he's talking about somebody from West Virginia that you can turn a baby when the baby is out of the womb, that you can terminate the baby. That's not an abortion. That's murder. So they should have I don't know if they fact checked. I think they said they fact checked that, but they said that Kamala's vice president had some kind of a policy, was doing something on that nature, was backing some stuff like that. But I'm not for sure. But that was kind of strange to me.
So, Mr. Gordan, did you need me to repeat the question, or you?
No, and I'm in agreement with Shuckey Duckey with regards to some of the strange things. We've already discussed this deal about the Haitian community in Springfield, Ohio, eating dogs and cats, and all of the Haitian communities I've ever visited between here and Washington, D.C., they have businesses, off the chain. They serve, great food. And there's no question as to how entrepreneurship in that community supports, various different, issues. And one of them is not going, that's just, and I think some of her facial expressions when he was saying these things lent credibility to questioning where are you coming from with this, Jack? But I also looked at her statement to him about you were fired by 81 million people. They rejected him. So taking a position that stands out against him being allowed to come back into the White House when former chiefs of staff, military generals, a lot of people who was in some of his cabinet don't consider him fit, to serve. And if you have to call Medal of Honor winners, and say that's less than the Congressional Medal of Honor winners, oh, I don't like them because they're all shot up or dead. Well, that's the sacrifice you make for the country, which he doesn't know anything about because he was, he had bone spurs and, got bone spurs playing tennis, I suppose. But the things that I saw that give rise from coming from his position is he trying to distance himself from Project 2025, which has over 130 people who used to work in his administration, some 110 organizations. Even J.D. Vance, the nominee for vice president that's running along with the former president, has made an introduction and added it to that strategy. And it's been defined by them as the next plan or agenda for the next conservative Republican administration. So they want to eliminate the Department of Education, restrict the Department of Commerce, and but yet Mr. Former President, he continues to say he doesn't know anything about it. I don't have anything to do with him. But the Heritage Foundation is a good, who created this, and they're a good organization and that does tremendously good work and so forth and so on. And in terms of what influence he has on the Republicans in Congress. Now, when the border bill came out of the Senate, it was a bipartisan effort to address immigration at the border, increase the number of Border Patrol agents, and help put people in place to work to erase the backlog. One of the most stringent bills that had come up in quite a while, according to certain media outlets. But at the same time, the former president says, don't give Joe Biden a win. Kill the bill. Don't pass the bill. But yet he wants to come and say they're doing nothing to address immigration. Well, you can't have it both ways. That's double dealing, double talk, And I think that's pretty much something that people need to recognize. You want to blame them for a lack of anything on immigration, yet you made phone calls to the House of Representatives, to tell them, kill the bill, don't give Biden a win. So you're looking at a solution, you cancel solution, but yet you wanted to have the problem to run on. How can you have it both ways?
Well, he's trying to get back because they didn't finish the wall. They want to tear down the wall. So I guess he's trying to make sure that they don't get a win in the Democratic Party don't get a win. So therefore, like he said, you can run on that ticket. But you got to understand that Donald Trump was not a career politician. And it was during 2016, he was surprised that he had won the presidency election himself because he really wasn't prepared for it. And people didn't understand that it was a movement. It was a populist movement during that period of time between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. And they couldn't do anything with Donald Trump, but the Democratic Party blocked Bernie Sanders for getting the nomination, So you got to understand, too, everybody's against Donald Trump. The Republicans, you got some members of the Republican parties against Donald Trump. You got the Democratic parties against Donald Trump. And a lot of them sabotaged his presidency when he was in there because they wouldn't let a lot of stuff ride because they kept him tied up in impeachment litigations and things of that nature. But he was not a career politician, and the people that he selected for different parts of his office, they was undermining him as well. So but with all of that, the economy was going pretty good until that pandemic came about. So he it wasn't really bad. It was just that he was going battling with so many different people's issues. And if you get back in there, it's still going to be make some of the same problems of battling with different people who's over certain different heads of departments and won't let him do his job.
And speaking of COVID, if I may, the Obama administration left him a playbook on how to deal with infectious diseases, and there was an infectious disease team in place to deal with these types of diseases. He disbanded that team. It was located over in China, and his rationale was he's a businessman. I'm a businessman, and I don't like people sitting around getting paid and doing nothing. But the playbook wasn't followed. And nobody knows what happened to it. And then when COVID hit, he was recommending that people, inject bleach into their bodies.
They had the Olympics during that period of time. They had the Olympic War Games over in China, where they was releasing a virus to see how people respond to it. Because Bill Gates had also put a pandemic plan together to respond to a pandemic, so it was really already planned out. Now he did stop a lot of different things, but they blocked him on a lot of different things when he shut down the travel. He shut down travel to China, and when he set that travel down, everybody called him racist for doing that. And then when he called it that it was a China flu and it was coming out of China, they said it was racist for doing that. But he did do a lot of different things, but a lot of stuff they blocked him from doing that as well.
You're tuned into TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local field with a global reach. And this is a great conversation. And I have one final question for both of you, and it's a two-part question. So if Donald Trump is elected, what type of country do you think that we will have? Mr. Benjamin.
Well, I think the country would still be divided, and it also will depend upon what type of representation we have in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, because all 435 seats are up for grabs in the House, and about 30 seats in the Senate are up for grabs. So if the Democrats get a majority in the House and the Senate, those are the guardrails that would keep him from doing pretty much a lot of things that he has proposed or that might be included in Project 2025. But I don't know that he's learned anything, and I don't know that he can benefit from advice if he wants to just focus on things. And this deal with the crowd size, he said he had more people at his rallies or his inauguration than Obama. He's had bigger crowds than Dr. Martin Luther King's speech in 1963. And it's just highly impossible for that to have occurred. But I think, the government or the country would still be divided based upon his actions as opposed to inactions.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It will definitely be divided. This is going to be a strange election because either way, whoever wins, it's going to be some disappointed people on both sides, and so we don't know how the people are going to respond and how they're going to react to it. Will he be able to get his stuff passed through? Would he be able to do govern effectively? We really don't know, but I think he's a stronger leader, but we've got to be careful too. We've got to be careful whether it's Vice President Kamala or former President Trump. We got to be careful and let people, we're not looking for dictatorships, and we're not looking for, no, can't nobody just just be a king in this excuse me, this democracy or this type of government, and so COVID let us know who really has the power. Because when the president said they want to do this, they do that, the governors say, no, we can't do that. And then when the governors want to do that, the local people and like the mayors and stuff, they say, no, we handle our city this way. So therefore, power is local. All power is local. All politics is local. And we need to find out who we're electing on the local level, because we're more closer to the local people than we are the national people. They only get a national person who is popular, so people can go in that voting booth and they vote straight Democratic or they're straight Republican. I think Jill Stein is a I don't know if she's gonna get enough votes enough. I think she's a very prominent candidate, but people don't hear that much about her and her policies and what she's doing. They're kind of keeping her quiet. Because if we had a third party, a strong third party representative, a lot of people probably be voting third party.
So what would the world or what the country look like if Kamala Harris became president?
Well, everybody thinks it's going to be more social. They think it's going to be more of a social type of a government. There's going to be more government involvement in everyday life. So that's what a lot of people are looking at it on that standpoint.
And I'd have to agree with Shuckey on that one, because she wants to embrace and empower the middle class, and certain sections of our society have been denied an opportunity to participate. And I think this is part of what drives her campaign and what drives her to raise people up instead of allowing the bully pulpit be used to bully citizens, right? And to that extent, I think it's a new flavor, but at the same time, it depends on who's in the House of Representatives, who controls that body, and who controls the Senate as to what she can get done. Now, as far as foreign policy is concerned, I don't think Kamala Harris's administration is going to cozy up to Kim Jong-un, the man Z, Mr. Z from China, or anything having to do with the Russians. So we are going to be not so much isolated, but we do need to be able to come together to support whatever positions the government takes under either the former president or Madam Vice President Harris.
So this has been a great conversation. This is the first replay that we've had. We had a couple of guests that were supposed to be with us, but they weren't able to make it at the last minute. And so, but we're gonna bring back the replay again so that we can continue to have this conversation leading up to the election. So before we go, Mr. Gordan, can you talk about voter registration real quick to tell people what the deadline is and why they should register and how?
The last day to register to vote is going to be October the 7th of 2024. Early voting begins on October 21st through November 1st. The last day to request a mail-in ballot is going to be October 25th. And the one thing I tell people, about number one, about young people, which is a core group that's on the rise, Gen X, Gen Z, is they must be 18 years old by today. They can register at 17 years and 10 months. What I tell people who are already registered to vote, my advice is for them to tell 5 of their family members, 10 of their friends, how important it is to go and vote. And also to those 23 naysayers that they might encounter, my vote doesn't count. No, it doesn't count if you don't use it. Are they going to do what they want to do anyway? They will if you don't go and vote. So that's the advice that I try to put out to make sure people understand that if you want to change policies, you change policymakers. If you want to change laws, you change lawmakers. And that lends us to a constantly improving of the quality of life in our community.
Do you have to have a driver's license to vote? Do you have to have some type of ID to vote?
Driver's license or state issued ID.
Okay. So you just can't walk up there with a piece of mail with your address and your name on it.
I think they removed that, but it has to be something that shows, some type of identification.
Okay. What time is the deadline for mail-in ballots?
It has to be. It should be there within 24 hours after the polls close.
Okay. This year, are they going to count the votes and not wait for a couple of days, or are they going to count the votes right on the spot and give us the results at the same night?
They're going to be counted as soon as the polls close. They're not going to have us wait 2 or 3 days.
Okay. All right. Like I said, this is going to be a very interesting election. It's going a lot of black males is a lot of black males is going for Trump. There are some black males is going for Kamala. I mean Vice President Harris. So this is going to be a very, very tight election, and it's really going to come down to the black vote. It's really going to come down to that, because that's the reason why everybody is courting the black vote and the woman's vote. So it's going to be very, very tight. And I don't know, it might be a landslide, but the election can go either way. Depends on what's happening between now and the news cycle. If anybody don't do anything stupid, we thought when Trump got an assassination attempt, we thought it boosted his little morale out. When I saw that assassination attempt and he went down and he had lost his shoes, I say, some people said he wasn't scared. I say, yeah, when you take off your shoes, you're ready to run. You're ready to get up out of there. Took off his shoes. Every black people know you're ready to get down when you take them shoes off. So he had to find my shoes, get my shoes, and he got up. And then when he did a little pump face, I said, he was saying black jobs, get just some black jobs, but this is going to be a very interesting election, man. I'm telling you, in a lot of things, I want to say this though, Doctor. When Biden did bad in the debates, they was doing behind the scenes trying to get rid of Biden, but they know they couldn't get rid of Biden by doing it behind the scenes. So they put him in that debate against Trump, and Trump didn't do anything to embarrass him, but Biden kind of embarrassed himself, and they know they couldn't go no longer with him. But I think they put him in front of the public, so the public can make a decision to get rid of Biden. And they did. People started talking, and the polls started coming out that he needed to be replaced. And then they did it, and they brought in Vice President Harris, because she was on the ticket, because they was trying to find somebody to replace her as well, because she wasn't doing too good in the polls as well. And so they was trying to find somebody to replace her, but they couldn't do it because she was on that ticket and she was the next person up in line to be president of the United States. So this is going to be a very, very, very interesting election. Everybody need to get out to vote, and we'll see what the results going to be come November.
So I just wanted to get some clarification, Mr. Benjamin, on the voter registration. So you have to take an ID, a picture ID, a photo ID,
Yep.
and your voter registration card.
The card is not necessary, as long as the address on your ID matches the address on file.
Mm-hmm. What if it don't match? What if it don't match? What if you moved within the next less like 10 days before the election?
You'll probably have to cast a provisional ballot. That's what would happen, and you have 7 days to cure that provisional ballot.
Wow. So
and what is the qualification? I'm sorry. What is the qualification for sending in a mail-in ballot?
You have to be 65 or older, or you have a debilitating condition that keeps you from voting in person, or mail-in ballots can be cast by people who are eligible to vote but are incarcerated at the time of the election.
Oh, I thought prisoners couldn't vote if you're convicted of a crime or something. You can't vote.
Those who have been convicted of felonies have to be off parole or no longer on probation or under any kind of supervision. A person may be in jail on a temporary hold until they go to trial, but they are not on probation or parole. And they can cast a mail-in ballot because they won't be available to go and cast the ballot in person.
Okay, so
Wow, that's good.
have you looked at the polls and see what the how the percentage is working out? How far is Vice President Kamala? Is she in the lead right now, or she's running neck and neck?
Well, she's running at about 48%, and he's running at about 42. That's what most of the polls are indicating. Uh, in in August, I think she raised twice the amount of money that Donald Trump raised. Yeah, 312, 316 million, and he only raised 136.
Now, could it be a statistic where people saying that they're not going to vote for Trump, but secretly they might be voting for him?
Well, that's a possibility. But one thing that Liz Cheney said, and she's a staunch Republican, both her and her father, she said, don't sit this one out, or don't just vote and not, and put somebody else's name in there, but go ahead and vote. In other words, giving permission for diehard Republicans to choose someone else other than this reckless individual who was a former president.
Now,
That's their.
Now, do you think Dick Cheney's endorsement really matters with the war that happened in Iraq,
But
the weapons of mass destruction? Do you think his endorsements is going to influence anybody?
Well, as far as Republicans go, for Democrats, I think they can look at that situation and say, how about that, and go on about their business. But for some Republicans, who detest the former president and know that he has criticized veterans, he has, called them losers and suckers and, denigrated, recipients of a Congressional Medal of Honor, they're not too happy with that. Which a lot of other people are not too happy with that as well. But I think that, for Cheney to step outside of his comfort zone and, indicate that he would not vote for Donald Trump would make a difference to some moderate Republicans. He may not sway a lot of diehard far right people, but there's some moderate Republicans who just looking for an opportunity to get away from Make America Great Again, rallying cry, and all these other things that the former president stand for.
Okay, so do you think that Donald Trump was a terrible president the 4 years that he was president?
I think he was moderately bad. He wasn't as good as he could have been if he had known what he was doing. But like you say, there were people who were against him because some of his ideas didn't match what should work for the country. He added some trillions of dollars, with that $1.7 trillion tax cut for corporations and the 1%, some of the richest people in the country, and left everybody else hanging out to dry. He only surpassed Nixon because Nixon had the temerity to say, okay, it's done, I'm out. And that's how Nixon received his pardon. But for Mr. Trump, he's got a long way to go.
Okay. Well, like I said, this is going to be a tight election. This is going to be an interesting election.
See, and one of the things that, before we go, I look at misinformation and disinformation. That's the two-headed monster that progressives, and people who are looking forward have to deal with, because Russia's influence, or else, people, with artificial intelligence now, you have all kind of schemes, and fraudulent actors, that are trying to influence people's vote with, bogus ads and misinformation and things of this nature. And years ago, it used to be about they're coming for your guns, right? So that excited a group of people, who had never had anything to worry about. But now they get the false flags about they're coming for your guns, they're coming for your guns. And that might not have been an objective for any administration, but somebody decided that they would excite that crowd of people and get them to get involved or to not get involved because they're coming for your guns. And it wasn't really something that was true.
Yeah, well, man, I just can't wait till the election come. I mean, this is gonna be bigger than the Super Bowl.
Right along that
It's-
scale. Huh?
Yeah.
It's gonna be in that one big stadium in New Orleans.
Yeah, boy, this gonna be one hell of a vote right here. You know, because they don't threw everything at this man, and everything at him, and he's still standing. And I just want to see what the outcome's gonna be.
Wow. So it's going to be great. It's going to be a great election. It's going to be I think it's going to be tight. Um, and it's, we got to be careful out there because it's going to be very contentious too, because it's kind of neck and neck according to the polls.
Yeah, but like I said, but like Laura, I don't care who get elected, whoever, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. Whoever win that vote, whether it's Donald Trump or Ms. Harris, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. I'm telling you. And I think and I think something is gonna happen, but even before the election. I don't know if it's going to be like a cyber attack or something,
A power outage, right?
Power outage or something, because I think they did a preview on it. They shut down something for a little short period of time, but I think something is definitely coming before this election take place.
Wow.
Let's just hope it's not another hurricane.
Say what now?
Let's just hope it's not another hurricane.
Well, the hurricane ain't gonna reach the whole nation. It's gonna hit in certain areas. Whatever's gonna hit is gonna hit the whole nation. So it's not gonna be just a hurricane. You got to be something that's gonna affect the whole country.
It's going to affect the battleground states.
Yeah.
So
there we are.
So this has been a great conversation. We've got to do it again. Hopefully we can get the other two people on again to join y'all the next time, so that we can have because some people are saying on the chat that it's not a balanced conversation. And
no,
so,
you know what it is, because it's not right. It's not about. I was trying to be on Trump's side, try to make it controversial a little bit, but I'm not too good at trying to defend somebody, but I was trying to make, because sometimes we agree too much, and I wanted to try to do a counter on it, but it ain't much I can do. ain't much I can do.
Right.
That's what makes me.
Well, it's the thought behind the information that you put out, and yours is a balance based upon what you see in your observations, so therefore it's ups and downs, the yin and the yang. Everything is not going to go left. Everything's not always going to go right. So there has to be something down the middle, compromise, collaboration, consensus, and commitment. There has to be a way for this to be profitable as far as our discussion is concerned. And when it comes to voters, they have to look at both sides and decide for themselves, where do I meet? Who do I meet in the middle? And how do we accomplish what it is that we need to get done? Because if you're writing a constitution for an organization, you don't select all the people who are going to say yes to what you want to do. You have to have some naysayers. So if a city council person is looking at only those people who immediately live in the area closer to where he lives, instead of the other 26 or 27 neighborhood associations that he's going to be representing, and only use those closest 5, how can that person be effective as a leader? How can he represent the remainder of the people in those neighborhood associations if he's not reaching out to them? Because no way you can put up 8 stakes to a tent and you all by yourself. You need 4 other people to help you put up the stakes to raise that tent. Am I right?
You're right, but Donald Trump is very is a very complicated figure. And if you say anything positive about Donald Trump, people start cussing you out and everything. I was trying to find some kind of the positive parts in. I think he's a very aggressive leader, but we ain't never seen a leader like that can be very aggressive. When Ross Perot was running for as a third party, he was kind of like that, kind of like aggressive and went off the chain on certain different things. But you know, this election is it's a strange election. It's a strange election. Donald Trump feel like he's been slighted, been cheated out of in the election, and he came back with a vengeance. And this is something that's going to go down in history. I mean, we think that Hillary losing in 2016, this right here is going to be even worse if Donald Trump don't win this election.
We'll see. We shall see. We can't hear you.
So this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin and Mr. Shuckey Duckey, for taking the time out of your busy schedules on a Friday evening to come
on
out.
Friday the 13th too. I mean, tell Friday the 13th. I mean, you know what? I was trying to be prepared, but I got sleepy. I was doing something. Got at the last minute. I did it up to about 6:30. And I said, God, dog, I gotta do this thing. And man, I'm really tired, to tell you the truth about it. My mind is kind of like flogged, but I am really tired because I really that much prepared for it. But anyway, I just like Mr. Benjamin. He got a great insight on politics and what's going on. But you know, like I said, this is a crazy election time this year, and I just want to see what the results are going to be.
Can't wait.
Thank you, sir.
But we're going to have some more conversations like this. So, Mr. Marquez DeLeon, thank you for tuning in. Ileana Nichols, she's our future intern for TAAN TV. She's 18 years old. And so she said that she said it's the lesser of two evils that we have to vote for. She wished it was a strong independent candidate, a third-party candidate to be a part of this election.
Well, that's Jill Steins. Ain't she running? There's another third-party candidate that is running.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Jill. I think it's Jill Steins. I think so it is. She's running.
Right. Well, we're gonna invite a younger person. The producer said that we need our young people to come on, so we're gonna invite Ileana Nichols on the next time to come on with you, so she can give a perspective from an 18-year-old. So I think this is.
And let her know to tell 18 of her friends in that same age group to come out and have a conversation with us and get engaged and get involved, because they are the future of what we've seen a whole lot, you know. And the sun is setting on our time around here, you know. 15 years, we're going to be alive.
Yeah, and we definitely we need to be pushing for the younger people to start leading the way for us older people, because I need to sit back and relax and retire and put the steering wheel in their hand, so I can sit back and say, "Go on," and throw that flag and say, "Go on, boy, or go on, girl."
There it is.
So you've been tuned into TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with a global reach, and you've been tuned into the replay on TAAN TV, and we look forward to y'all joining us next time. Thanks for coming up.
And thank you for having
me. Tell me what's the vibe.
Tell your love is so unreal to me. When I look into your eyes and see